Because he lost so much. Yeah. Word. Fuck. Whatever set the strong. Really cool video. And they spoke about Kylo Ren versus Darth Vader. So now we're watching Kylo Ren versus Darth Vader, and who would win in a death battle, not made by Death Battle. Maybe that is okay. So this is where we find ourselves. We're just basically going to see what's going to happen, and somehow try to drag this on for way longer than we should have to, and complain the whole time. That's going to be fun.
Hello everyone, it's your host, Seth the Programmer.
Okay, I just want to bump up that volume slightly.
Today we're going to be going over a new series on this channel, that being Star Wars. More specifically though, Darth Vader from the original Star Wars trilogy against Kylo Ren from the new Star Wars trilogy. I'm personally a fan of both these characters, as I'm kind of
Someone's a fan of Kylo Ren. That's an interesting take. That's a very interesting take. Very unique take as well. Seeing as I'm not exactly sure that I would call him the best character to come out of the new trilogy.
a fan of the whole masked aesthetic, wink wink. So this video won't just be me explaining if one stomps the other, but also an educational piece on both characters.
Okay, that's actually really cool. I suppose, I don't know if they're doing traditional Death Battle format, which I'm a huge fan of Death Battle. But they kind of explain the backstory, the history of the actual character, and not just what they were doing. Then afterwards, they kind of, okay, I don't think he's gonna have the budget for a cool animated fight, or the fucking animators for it, and that will link to a after piece, like a exposition after the facts about why. But we're probably going to react to some of the new Death Battle shit after they have left Rooster Teeth. Rooster Teeth closed down. The world burned, whatever you want to call it. At some point, the new one is out. Well, was out, I think, already last week, but hey.
And why I think they are both slightly downplayed a bit. Many see Kylo Ren and seem to equate him to some extremely weak Episode 1 Darth Maul level threat.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think anyone thought he was weak. That is one thing I think we need to clarify. I just thought he was a shit character. Some Donald Duck fucking helmet wearing motherfucker. And apparently he was supposed to be hardcore. Like the whole scene of him freezing the blaster bolt. Yes, okay, I know. Well, they could probably do that, and they couldn't previously. But it was a dope scene, and no one else has done it before, so clearly fucking strong.
Whereas some see Vader as his old Anakin self's whipping boy. So I think it'll be fun to explain some of my scaling for them regardless of the matchup. This will be purely introverse power scaling, so no feats or calculations will really be used in this.
No. I like maths. I don't like maths, I hate maths, but it sounds really cool when you say really big numbers about how strong they are and how strong they are. Like, sounds cool when you say, like, homie could lift quintillion tons, just saying.
This video, so sorry if you guys were looking for something more along those lines. Other than that, though, if you like in-depth talk like...
I can't... Okay, I know I spoke about Death Battle like 5 times, but this is also a Death Battle in my mind. So that's also why I'm going to keep referencing it. However, I'm sure they've gotten that request a million times. I know they normally do franchise versus franchise and not people within the same franchise. But, like, would be a cool Death Battle fight. Just saying, maybe you should recommend it to them.
This about fiction versus battles, or maybe you've seen me around a few times. Consider liking the video and subscribing. It means a lot. Thank you. Also, there will be spoilers for pretty much literally everything in Star Wars. Shocker. I want to...
Like, what's a nice way to say this? At what point are you watching a video where the dude's just explain? I'm going to explain to you about certain characters and their feats they've done. So you might inevitably find out what the fuck happened and storyline stuff. So, like, spoilers. At what point did we become that dumb that we actually have to say shit like, oh, by the way, in this thing about characters from this one thing where they do stuff and I have to speak about the things they did and how the story progressed, there will be spoilers. Like, at what point are we that fucking backwards?
Start this video off with a brief analysis on Kylo Ren first, as let's talk about the elephant in the room. Most people think he's absolutely trash, and this video isn't even a discussion. However, and many people that are heavily into Star Wars, whether they're scalers, YouTubers, researchers, or just big fans, will tell you, most normal people are under the influence of a very common misconception, surrounding Kylo that causes them to downplay him. That is, of course, his battle with Finn and Rey at the end of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Now, when I say these things, I'm not criticizing people for not understanding some more detailed concepts at first. This isn't my purpose here. My purpose is purely educational. In Episode 7, Kylo kills his father Han Solo, and Chewbacca blasts him directly with a bowcaster, a weapon that is shown one-shotting entire groups of stormtroopers, gets blasted directly into Kylo's gut while he's off guard and just killed his own father. We then get confirmation that Kylo Ren is extremely conflicted from this and distressed from...
Like, I feel like, in fairness, still got shot. Like, I think we've seen a lot of people get shot and or Jedi/Sith, and it did way more.
Killing his father on top of his new bowcaster injury. And for those that don't know, confliction in Star Wars heavily nerfs people and is quite common. It's not just a new generation Kylo is a baby thing. Even Darth Vader himself is subject to confliction and being nerfed. In Darth Vader's case, Darth Vader, despite actually being confirmed to be stronger than Luke Skywalker in Episode 6 and actually confident in defeating him, the narrator actually says he will win the battle, actually loses to him somewhat quickly due to him being extremely conflicted in facing him, literally just about to turn to the light side of the Force. Luke also gets a rage amp that some consider to be breaching on the dark side on top of this, which Sidious actually rubs in Luke's face, which is after Vader rubs in the fact he can manipulate Leia to the dark side if Luke won't turn instead. And you can see how emotional states in Star Wars can tip the scales pretty quickly. The Jedi and Sith themselves pretty much base all of their teachings on these emotional states for...
I mean, that is fair. Literally, I was going to go into it now, but fucking Jedi Code is about controlling your emotion and not reacting to emotion, and same as the Sith. Fucking fear, something, rage, we kill people and make us stronger.
For a reason. It's a pretty pivotal part of the series. Darth Vader also showed heavy confliction when dealing with bleeding his first Kyber crystal, in which he gets visions of becoming a good person and destroying the Emperor once and for all, and then befriending Obi-Wan once again. The crystal overpowers him due to him being too conflicted to force his will upon it, but then after resolving himself, he bleeds the crystal easily and can even bleed entire clusters of these crystals with zero difficulty later after resolving himself completely to the dark side. Even in the new Darth Vader 2020 comic run, Vader is starting to be overcome with grief after dealing with Padme's old guard, and is heavily dampening and...
First of all, thanks for the answer. Respect that you still answer such questions. It looks like Palpatine is completely dominating Vader. Totally is, but I don't think Vader is really fighting back. Okay, fair enough. I think also a lot of it is like character progression reasons. Not just like total power and how strong he is or isn't.
And nerfing his abilities. So Sidious takes it upon himself to teach him fear and anger once again to help him retain his powers.
Also, we're speaking a lot about Vader. It's supposed to be the exposition about Kylo Ren, I'm just saying.
If seeing Padme's friends and thinking about her can nerf Darth Vader, this walking death machine that tortures and destroys everything from Jedi to children, imagine how Kylo killing his own father felt while already questioning himself to begin with was. This is confirmed in many other side materials, but Kylo is not remotely at his best versus Finn and against Rey, and even Snoke confirms this.
Also looks like he's barely trying.
7. Finn and Rey also have a few interesting quirks going for them as well, in which Finn might be on the verge of reaching Captain Phasma's level, who in Star Wars Force Awakens...
Captain Phasma first Boba Fett, winner Captain Phasma. Phasma's rigid training keeps her in top physical form, and she's able to outlast Fett, enduring his attacks until his most potent weapon systems become depleted.
Head-to-head is stated to be able to face off against even Boba Fett if it came
I feel like there's a lot
with Rey having a Force dyad that scales based off of Kylo's level of strength, alongside Sidious's strange abilities to adapt to lightsaber combat, apparently, or allegedly. It really doesn't mean anything for Kylo as an anti-feat. In the words of the Force Awakens novel itself, stunned by his own action, Kylo Ren fell to his knees. Following through on the act ought to have made him stronger, a part of him believed. Instead, he found himself weakened. And the hilt wobbled in the snow, pulling it through the forest proved more strenuous than it should. The pain of Ren's wound clouded his concentration. End quote.
It's fair enough. So yes, they're saying that homie got shot, that hurts, and it impedes his abilities. That seems legitimate.
With even this, Ren was still going easy on Finn in particular despite all of this. Kylo Ren overall is a character who has trained under both Luke Skywalker and Snoke, and in the Star Wars Encyclopedia it says this: having studied Jedi skills as well as arcane dark side lore, Kylo Ren is the embodiment of conflict, drawing upon contradictory teachings and deriving power from discord. End quote. Luke Skywalker after Episode 6 was immensely immersed in Jedi teachings, so they could teach the next generation and learn even more than what he had already did.
He wanted to
when
basically be a
saved Vader
dad.
and the Emperor. With Snoke having just as much knowledge as Sidious, as confirmed in Secrets of the Jedi, although he is weaker. In fact, it's even implied that Snoke more than likely possesses abilities beyond anything we've possibly seen before. Even Kylo Ren's very lightsaber is based on an immense level of thought, with it being based.
Also feel like the whole Snoke thing was pretty cool. And then, okay, yes, I know there's a change in directors, but there's a change in like story and blah 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 blah. But I feel like that would have been a really cool fleshed out thing if we actually got to know more about Snoke. Like, I don't know. I feel like that was such a wasted character.
It's on an ancient design dating back all the way thousands of years during the Scourge of Malachor. Downplaying Kylo is a little bit sad at this point, unfortunately.
Your thoughts betray you, Father. I feel the good in you. The conflict.
There is no conflict.
Darth Vader also has people questioning him as well, in which many think that he's heavily nerfed with a lot of misconceptions about him. For one, this video we are only using the new canon, which is materials and statements made after 2014
Oh,
only.
Jesus,
That
okay,
means
so that's...
statements such as Vader being 80% of Sidious and his force potential being nerfed due to his body are not valid here. Many consider these things
okay.
correctly retconned as well, due to the fact that Darth Maul returns after getting half his body chopped off, and is actually confirmed to be...
Could you please... I suppose that's supposed to be like answer question. When Force users lose parts of their body, does their strength in the Force diminish? Maul lost the lower half of his body and still seemed pretty powerful, so I'm going to have to go with no.
even
Fair
stronger
enough.
than he was before. In Ultimate Star Wars New Edition, the definitive guide, it stated that his armor both sustains his damaged body and enhances it with advanced prostheses and augmented sensory, skeletal, and nervous systems. Vader also was shown creating and designing his own suit himself after his battle with Kirak, with permission from Sidious using the Force and his engineering skills. So, no, if anything, Vader with his suit is actually superior in physical ability than before, not weaker. In Lords of the Sith 2016, there's also confirmation that it is not just a physical enhancement, but strengthened his connection to the Force as well. In quote, his
That's
injuries had
dope.
deformed his body, left it broken, but they'd perfected his spirit, strengthening his connection to the Force. Suffering had birthed insight. This would explain why Sidious still
So
believes
he got
that Vader
stronger. He kind of got actually... Well, not kind of. They're basically saying he got stronger.
potential is endless even before he obtained his lightsaber, saying he has been taught pain and believes after Vader becomes endlessly powerful, they will become one when Vader strikes him down. It's basic Star Wars at that point. Another argument, obviously, is that Vader simply wasn't used to his suit at first, which I will explain soon. Vader, in many visions in Star
Well, I mean, fucking homie was literally wearing a... I don't know, his nothing supposed to be stupidly heavy, first of all. And I feel like there's some kind of learning curve when you get any kind of new outfit, prosthetics, fucking anything.
so on, also considers every step he took from Obi-Wan to have made him more powerful. In Darth Vader 2017, Vader is on the beginning of his journey and has to obtain his own lightsaber and bleed it. His target is Kirak, a Jedi Master confirmed to be stronger than any Master Vader has ever fought before, including Obi-Wan. And while Vader is nerfed and subconsciously conflicted, he eventually is able to defeat Kirak in the rematch after being initially defeated and threatening Kirak with civilians, showing that he can swap blows and even force choke someone who surpasses Obi-Wan, someone who was rivaling Anakin in the past. Now, not saying
Well,
Obi-Wan
I mean, people progress, get stronger, learn new things.
is equal in strength to Anakin, but just showing that it isn't just a one-sided stomp, obviously. This battle against Kirak is also when Vader does not possess a lightsaber, and it's directly stated to be nerfed and unused to his suit. A lightsaber, for those that don't know, contains a kyber crystal that is attuned to the Force and connects to its wielder on a deeply personal level that acts as an extension of each Jedi's Force awareness and helps them find their center in combat or meditation. This is why Tarkin notes that Vader seems to be distressed at the thought of not having his lightsaber and desperate.
I actually did not know that. That explains why every fucking thing. But like all Sith and Jedi are so obsessed with finding the lightsaber. It's their weapon. So yes, obviously you want to have your weapon, but if it's also like their fucking emotional support animal, except it's a lightsaber, like the emotional support lightsaber, then that kind of also makes sense with a massive obsession in it.
Wants it back, but I'll explain more about Tarkin later. Darth Vader in the Episode 6 novelization also believes that he and Luke together can defeat Sidious, he himself being stronger than Luke to begin with. Vader is also often quoted as being extremely calculated, so for him to make this statement probably holds a lot of validity. Sidious being the embodiment of every Sith put together probably shows that Vader is nowhere near a downward spiral in power. Now, while I'm not saying the loss on Mustafar didn't hold him back, it certainly isn't keeping him back either. Hell, even after just being defeated by Obi-Wan and put in his suit, his raw anger is actually enough to blast Sidious off his feet. Vader has overcome many trials and tribulations to prove his worth to Sidious again, even defeating many would-be successors in attempts to get rid of him.
There he was also still like learning and developing his power. Like, yes, he had become, I don't know, I think a Jedi Knight. But he wasn't at the level of anyone else. He was still like a lot younger than everyone, so it would make sense he would still need to develop and learn. After then embracing the dark side, it's a whole fucking extra level of shit to learn and develop. Not just be like, oh, homie got weaker. You couldn't fucking beat Obi-Wan and all of a sudden he's rivaling Darth Sidious. I think that's a pretty big power gap there.
Eventually earning Sidious's full faith once again after his defeat by Obi-Wan. With those two issues out of the way, I feel we can have a more mature discussion about
Mature discussion. I would hate to see what the fucking comment section thinks about your mature discussion.
Kylo Ren versus Darth Vader. Now, most YouTubers and scalers of Star Wars I talk to are actually firm believers that Kylo Ren absolutely stomps Vader.
Oh, fuck. Okay, that was not the direction I thought this was going.
Actually kind of shocked me at first. Of course, for this video, I went out of my way to research and look into defenses for Vader as well to see if what they said was fully concrete.
That was not at all where I thought this was going to end up.
Of people who kind of do this for a living are compared to normal viewers. There are a few arguments presented in favor of Kylo. The first of these arguments is the battle against the Zillo Beast. Long ago, Vader tried to negotiate with the Banathi and failed and was brought into a massive war in which there was only he and one survivor left after subduing them. And not able to stand up against their god of their people, the Zillo Beast, Kylo Ren in Star Wars Age of Resistance seeks to prove he is worthy of Vader's place by seeking glory in a battlefield that Vader once fought in. Kylo, after failing negotiations with the confident Banathi King Kristoff, goes into an all-out battle with their people, with side-by-side shots comparing Kylo to Vader directly, showing they handle the confrontation somewhat in a similar way at first. However, the Zillo Beast eventually arrives, and it is advised Kylo retreats. Instead of retreating, Kylo finds the distraction and leaps inside of its mouth. The last surviving stormtrooper that fought alongside Vader laughs, thinking he let himself get eaten. However, the beast soon falls dead, with Kylo ripping his way out of its body with his lightsaber. After seeing this, Kylo declares
I feel like that's a pretty solid way to get out of most situations.
And all the Banathi bow to him, no longer being confident and not taking out nearly as much men as they did against Vader. The stormtroopers said while this battle wasn't a competition of him against Vader, he certainly won it. This is definitely the writer trying to show a direct comparison to Kylo and Vader. In fact, the entire chapter for Kylo seems to be based on it, and it's a huge part of Kylo's character to want to live up to Vader. The question, though, is does this necessarily prove it? And the answer is not necessarily.
Yeah.
If you were to be a skeptic, there's many questions to be asked. How did Vader win the battle against the Banathi with the Zillo Beast's intervention? If the Zillo Beast was not defeated, how did Vader subdue the Banathi with only he and one stormtrooper left standing, despite the Zillo Beast and King Kristoff still standing? It opens up a lot of inquiries. Some theories are that Vader never once tried attacking the Zillo Beast from the inside like Kylo, which may have been one of its weaknesses, as the stormtrooper thinks the strategy was Kylo getting eaten and dying, and perhaps the Zillo Beast hide loosens up after being killed, which explains how Kylo could just cut through it, and obviously since the stormtrooper thought this, Vader never attempted it. Another theory is that Vader found a different way to deal with the Zillo Beast that didn't involve him directly killing it, or that Vader simply didn't try fighting the Zillo Beast, thinking it was indestructible from his past engagement with one during the Clone Wars. A possible strategy is also exhausting it or distracting it away.
Or, you know, he just fucking manipulated it. Because wasn't that also kind of his thing? I feel like Anakin used a lot of force manipulation. I don't think Anakin did use a lot of force manipulation. I kind of think I'm just making shit up. But I feel like it could be something plausible.
Somewhere else, etc. A junior executive creator at Lucasfilms has actually made a direct comparison between Kylo and Vader, and has said outright that while they're both intimidating, that Vader is more calculated than Kylo is. So this would add even more to the consistency that there may have been a completely different style of engagement concerning the Zillo Beast between them.
Well, clearly the fact that he was still seen as a ruler and then still and didn't kill the Zilla Beast kind of means that yes, he did do some other shit. I think that's pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. I don't think that's a surprise or weird at all.
While I'm not saying these are objective or factual explanations, it is simply an array of questions this series of events opens up. Right before the Zilla Beast battle, Kylo tries to force choke King Kristoff, and it isn't strong enough to actually do so, yet he's able to slaughter their god from within its body, a god who is so powerful and revered that killing it causes all the Benathi to instantly surrender and respect. If his force powers didn't work on Kristoff, then surely they wouldn't work on the Zilla Beast either, which makes the Zilla Beast weakness argument come off as a bit stronger. Of course, Kylo's lightsaber has proven to be more effective at killing than his force abilities, as he literally kills Kristoff.
I was about to say, fucking, like, lightsaber versus force power is still very two different arguments. Darth Vader could have better force powers, but, I mean, lightsaber beats me trying to choke something?
Right after his force powers didn't work, but it really makes you question how Kylo exactly scales to these beings he's fighting. Another point of contention with this actually has to go deeper into Vader's character. During the battle on Mon Cala,
That just looks like a fucking picture of Earth, I'm just saying.
Vader was hunting a Jedi Master Bar, and during his approach, Tarkin requests that Vader finds and captures the King of Mon Cala, Li Char, instead, and that he would be indebted to him if he did. Vader accepts this and leaves Bar to his Inquisitors instead. After finishing his mission, Tarkin has to pay back his favor to Vader. That favor Vader requests is that Tarkin has to hunt him to the death on a planet in the Outer Rim. During this engagement, we learn many things about Vader's fighting style, how cunning and powerful he is, what works on him and what doesn't, the range of his force powers,
Was it literally just him being set on fire and nothing happened?
and so on. Tarkin tries to learn everything to secure a kill and fulfill his favor. During this, Tarkin begins to ask the question, why did Vader want this? The only reasonable conclusion they all came
Get
to
stronger?
is that Vader wanted Tarkin to kill him to prove there was something left conquering and facing in a galaxy devoid of Jedi. Tarkin describes Vader as a killer with no one worth killing. This is also confirmed by Sidious himself, in which he states that with the Jedi gone, there are very few opponents that are worth their skill and power in a fight, and that surrendering to your urges of power are natural. He also notes that Vader is extremely attracted to the idea of facing these opponents and testing himself. The Ninth Sister comments on Vader as well, and seems to think Vader seeks challenges because he is dying to die, which could also be the case. All of these, if anything,
Yeah, that's
would
pretty
point
cool way to put it, dying to die.
Vader more than likely not valuing the Zilla Beast as an opponent. Not only is he either trying to die or intentionally throwing himself at hardship that can more than likely kill him, but he's faced a Zilla Beast before during the Clone Wars, and possibly twice if you consider his encounter with Tarkin to be afterward. Yet he never throws himself at it and loses, or even considers it exciting enough to seek it out and defeat. Vader, when talking to the Grand Inquisitor, mocks the Jedi for thinking a battle is won even if both sides remain alive, which further pushes this theory. With these in mind, it's very hard for me to imagine that the Zilla Beast is the ultimate crushing argument that proves Vader loses to Kylo Ren, but I will admit is more of a feat for Kylo, obviously, and definitely his point, as he...
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't talk about killing it, but I mean, at the end of the day, Vader negotiated the situation. We don't know how he did it. But it doesn't necessarily mean he couldn't kill it either. That's the thing. If he found a different way to negotiate the situation that he thought was better at the time, that doesn't necessarily mean he couldn't kill it. He just chose not to. Like, intent is also part of it as well.
He defeated it, and Vader did not. The next argument in Kylo's favor is one where Luke Skywalker analyzes the power of Rey and says that he has never felt force as strong as hers since he has seen Kylo Ren. On the official Star Wars database, they have a small tidbit from this scene, and it reconfirms that it is actually talking about strength. Since Luke has seen both Darth Vader and Sidious, this would mean that Kylo surpasses both.
I mean, I think that's a stretch. I think that's a bit of a significant... Especially surpassing Sidious, I feel like is a very big stretch.
Correct? Not necessarily. For one, Luke has never seen Darth Vader's full abilities. He has only faced Darth Vader when he was conflicted and not trying to hurt him, and he only felt Sidious shocking him. However, in the Star Wars Episode 6 novelization, it's confirmed that Sidious didn't even zap Luke with all of his power, and actually got angry and shocked Vader with even more, which is why Vader took so much more damage than Luke did. This puts this statement more into question more so for Sidious than Vader, but the other problem is this, and I quote, Ren, who was once similarly sought out for his raw, untamed power by the mysterious Snoke.
Similarly, as in Anakin as well.
End quote. Notice the wording of untamed. This can have many meanings, from anything to masterless to straight up not being controlled. In this case, both Rey and Kylo could have reserves of force powers that they simply cannot control. Even after Kylo trained with Luke and is considered Kylo Ren, his power is considered untamed and not controlled. So a good interpretation is that Luke...
Also, in fairness, it could also have not been his dark side power, because at that point he was obviously rejecting it, then he started to embrace it, blah, 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 blah. So his dark side, his use of the dark side, as well as the power or I was tapping into in the dark side, was untamed and unkempt because it had never been trained or used before. Surely, like, every time they describe it, it's not like one and the other. Like, even with fucking Anakin and Darth Vader, he had to learn how to use the dark side. He had to embrace the dark side and learn its teachings, not just, oh fuck, now I'm one of the strongest. Same as Dooku and all the Jedi that fell.
Felt the inner depths of both Rey and Kylo, possibly their dyad, and noted their potential to become something too strong to destroy if it became haywire, which is why Luke was overcome with fear. Now, to back up this interpretation, I actually have an argument in favor of Darth Vader I stumbled upon, which is in the Star Wars The Force Awakens head-to-head. In this book, it goes over many matchups that never happen in the actual story, goes over their stats, and goes over the winner of the battles. Now, while the stats of the book are confusing, we don't know the exact meanings behind them.
Well, that's very helpful when the fucking book that's supposed to help you decide these things is confusing.
The actual explanations behind the fights are pretty blatant. The officially chosen experts for the series had chosen Kylo Ren to face off against Luke Skywalker from Episode 5, the same Luke Skywalker on the verge of
Episode why 5?
bullying the Grand Inquisitor and facing off against Darth Vader on Cloud City. In the Battle of Kylo Ren Episode 7 versus Luke Skywalker from Episode 5, the official winner is Kylo Ren. However, the explanation makes this more complicated for Kylo. In quote, although Luke defends himself with intense determination, Kylo's anger overpowers the young Jedi. Despite injuries, Kylo is willing to press his advantage and defeat the enemy. End quote. Despite injuries is a big focus here, and no, it's not talking about the Kylo that faced Rey at the end of Episode 7 after getting blasted by a bowcaster. This is Kylo fully masked at the start of the episode. Even the other characters such as Rey in the same book are also start of episode variants, and it's displayed in their descriptions and appearances. So in the battle against Luke, Kylo would win, but he'd take injuries from him. Vader gets tagged by Luke as well in their fight. However, this was already after Vader dominated and defeated him casually. As a reminder, Vader fought this Luke while conflicted, not trying, and trying to recruit him, and absolutely stomped him.
Well, I mean, if the intent wasn't there to actually beat him, because yes, he was trying to convert him to the dark side and bring him over, and then they could kill cities together, blah, 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 rule of two nonsense. You wouldn't necessarily go all out. You want to kind of be just strong enough that you could use almost the like allure of look at my power that you could compare to one day kind of thing, and then ramp it up kind of thing. You don't want to like completely body the oak and be like, hey, sweet dude, like want to be my apprentice after you just literally got destroyed.
Let alone bloodlusted, angry, and full power like Kylo was. This point for
that scene was the one I was talking about earlier.
Vader is further solidified by Kylo Ren's narrative in Episode 7 and statements that Rey makes about his power. In Episode 7, Kylo Ren tries to interrogate Rey and bully her about her parents to potentially convert her to the dark side, but Rey does a know you and plays on Kylo's thoughts instead. That thought is Kylo thinks he will never be stronger than Darth Vader. You might ask yourself, wouldn't that just be him being scared of Vader's lore or him being insecure? And the answer is actually no. Kylo more than likely does actually know how strong Darth Vader actually is to compare himself to. In Star Wars, many people can access the Force through areas or artifacts strong in the Force. These include things such as Jedi temples, which allow you to see visions of people that weren't even there, such as in Vader Down when Luke Skywalker was trying to find a temple, masks, lightsabers, and so on. Darth Vader himself talks about the incredible influence of ancient Force-ridden artifacts in the comics, and Luke is actually influenced and tainted by anger after wielding a Sith's red lightsaber, and even notices
I mean, that lightsaber looks a bit familiar, just saying.
Its influence and Force directly. However, a very small number of Force users have a unique ability called psychometry. End quote. A small number of Force users, including Rey and Cal Kestis, have the rare ability of psychometry, which allows them to learn about people or events by touching an object associated with them. End quote. For those that don't know, Cal Kestis is the protagonist of the video game
That seems like such a wild. He had that ability for fucking collectibles and story reasons in a video game.
Fallen Order, in which he can learn tricks, memories, or events he didn't know through psychometry. And yes, it is in fact confirmed Kylo Ren too possesses this ability. So why would Kylo,
Okay, never mind. Apparently everyone can do it now. Seems a lot less cool.
who was confident after hearing he outdid Vader slaying the Zillo Beast, now suddenly be humbled and admit inferiority to Vader, Kylo Ren being an extremely arrogant and cocky person to begin with. That's because Kylo now is introduced to Darth Vader's mask, and now he can see and feel Darth Vader's force directly. Of course, Darth Vader's mask would be heavily drenched with slaughter and dark side energy. Even if he converted at the last moment, this is what Kylo would mainly feel and learn about. Another thing to consider for Vader is that Vader has immense potential, greater than anybody who has ever existed, said maybe Luke in the sequel duo, and has trained with the greatest of Jedi Masters, including Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Mace Windu, as well as trained with Darth Sidious for decades afterward, and has fought in
Yeah, literally, homie had like the, I want to say the trifecta, but it's a lot more than just two, of the best and the strongest to learn from.
many wars and has gone through an insane amount of trials and tribulations.
But just these pure like
No exaggerations to say
like battle experience. It's just insane. Homie killed so many fucking people, so many planets, so many worlds. Like, he just has so much more pure experience.
he is the main character and protagonist of Star Wars. In fact, he was doing all of this power grinding longer than Kylo was even alive. Now, this isn't to take away anything from Kylo. Kylo clearly has trained with Luke Skywalker and Snoke, who rivals the wisdom of Sidious, but the training argument more than likely goes to Vader, and I don't think anybody really disagrees with that.
Yeah, I feel like that. If you can't disagree with that. The pure scope of Darth Vader's teachings and his pure battle experience, I just think is impossible to compete with.
No matter what side you're on there.
And especially if the Force allows you to not use age or perform as well as you could have if you were younger. I feel like it's a very valid argument also to have for him.
But I'm open-minded with this, and I think the best way to incorporate all of this information is a scale. In my opinion, the scale would go a little like this. Due to Kylo Ren admitting inferiority and stating to struggle with Luke in Episode 5, I think it's safe to say that Darth Vader more than likely would defeat Kylo Ren from Episode 7. However, Kylo Ren gets immensely more powerful after Episode 7, with Luke and Snoke both confirming that Kylo's potential and raw untamed power in the Force is greater than all others. By Episode 9,
I feel like that's a bold fucking claim.
he begins to live up to his potential and starts to learn and control all the aspects of his being and character, and even at the very end, he begins to fully utilize the light side on top of his already immense power in conjunction with Rey's Force Dyad. I think if any Kylo would defeat Vader, it would more than likely be the one from Episode, not so much 7. Of course, you might also be able to argue that it would take Rey and Kylo working together and maybe Luke sense the Force Dyad within them. However, if you believe that they're just talking about Kylo Ren's raw potential and ability, then it might be possible that he did, in fact, reach that immense level by the end of Episode 9, after training more intensively. Rey also has a very good attunement to the Force, where all of the Jedi can reach out.
Okay. I was going to say, why the fuck is Anakin next? I think that's Anakin. But then I forgot, in fairness, Darth Vader did technically turn to the light side at the end. So fair enough, I guess he counts as a good guy.
To her and amp her to the ability to outdo and destroy Sidious while he's on Exegol, which is a planet that literally amps Sidious because he's a dark side user. And many people downplay this by saying that Kylo and Rey were defeated by Sidious. However, this is more than likely due to hacks such as his ability to sap their life force, which no one really knew how to deal.
I mean, hacks is a bit of a understatement. If homie's that strong that he has hacks, yes, you can say planet blah blah blah, but homies could still do it.
With. Sidious is also amped on Exegol, as I said before.
Exegol still world from antiquity, okay.
The home of the dark side is considered stronger than ever before, whereas Ben Solo and Rey have both pretty much converted and given themselves to the light side. So even if you say that Sidious is stronger than them in Episode 9, it really doesn't mean anything because he would obviously be amped, and the Luke Skywalker statement of Kylo having force greater than any he's ever felt would still apply, because obviously he's never felt amped Sidious. So all in all, I think a very solid argument for Vader being above Episode 7 Kylo can be made, with a possible argument for Kylo or Ben Solo in Episode 9 being made. This isn't totally outlandish, of course. Darth Vader is a person infamous for never living up to his full potential. In his travels through the Force through gates, he
That's actually such a shit character to have, or like such a shit description of a character to have. Well, Homie was supposed to be the greatest Jedi, never did that. Then he was supposed to be the greatest dark side user, never did that, and then died killing his former master. Well, attempted to kill his former master, whatever you want to call it, because Sidious didn't die. So Homie was just kind of like a, well, could have been the greatest, never was.
made together with Momin. We see some
He's like that fucking sports player that had one phenomenal season and then tore their ACL and they were just done forever, never came back again.
of his true Force powers on display and his true potential on display, and he easily destroys Kirak, Mace Windu, Yoda, and many other extremely powerful Jedi single-handedly with not a scratch. We then see Sidious and Obi-Wan with a statement, "I am your father." Sidious then destroys Obi-Wan and tries to block Vader's path, but this Force version of Vader shoots red Force lightning and vaporizes Sidious with zero difficulty, only to be stopped by Luke Skywalker at the very end. Many will also recall Anakin's encounter with the son and daughter during the Clone Wars, in which he talks to and controls the very embodiments of the light and dark side of the Force. Of course, if Anakin was at his maximum potential, Kylo would not ever have a hope of defeating him in a one-on-one fight, but there's still
You're also assuming that Kylo went into his untapped potential, or had that untamed raw power.
the question of Kylo's potential maybe surpasses even his, as Luke possibly questions. But I'll leave that more up to you guys in the comments. Do you think Kylo
So Homie kinda copped out, basically.
from Episode 9 surpasses Vader? Maybe you think Kylo from Episode 7 already did? Do you think Ben Solo has more potential than Anakin Skywalker due to Luke and Snoke's analysis? And other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.
Oh, is this the Dragon Ball Z thing again? I think this is his outro. Pretty cool outro. That was actually really cool. Oh, that was interesting. Kind of really like that. I'll link the video in chat and it'll be down in the description below as well. That's actually a really cool analysis to give. I mean, I think that's the worst description of Darth Vader ever. Not in terms of the analysis, but just in terms of the one fucking line of never ever what greatest person never live up to their potential. That must suck. That must hurt. But yeah, I don't know if I'm just a Vader wannabe. Look, I haven't really consumed much content outside of the movies with Kylo Ren in terms of like comics or novels or anything. So I don't know. I don't want to say he's stronger because I mean Darth Vader's OG, he's one of my favorites. So there is that. But yeah, that was a really cool video. It was actually really well done. I'll leave the link in the description below and I'll post it in chat. Yeah, like the video, give it a follow, give it a watch yourself, and all those things.